For a scrawny science nerd, Peter Parker is full of surprises that he would rather keep to himself. His survival and the safety of his loved ones depend on it. He's maintained his secret identity since his inception in 1963, and as he's evolved both physically and technologically, that closet is slowly filling up with his secrets. We like to think that Peter will always be ahead of the evil wrongdoers and their crime curve, but what other secrets is the man-spider hiding? If you like this video, then say it and don't spray it by hitting the subscribe button and swinging through all of our cool vids, because we don't all have spider senses.
That's my catchphrase!
One crazy metabolism. Peter Parker's never been a beefcake per se. In fact, he's more of a thinly sliced deli meat, and for the quintessential 90-pound runt, he ought to brown bag an extra large lunch. When Parker gained his powers, a super metabolism probably isn't one that he bargained for. The benefits of his unnaturally fast metabolism is a huge asset, but it comes at a cost: a mammoth grocery bill, which proved to be a challenge for Aunt May's fixed budget.
This beats all other meatloafs.
This accelerated metabolic rate helps Peter to process and nullify poisons, toxins, and anything else that might do him harm. The downsides are, if he falls ill, then the dosage of medication he'd need to have to recover would need to be boosted considerably. Should Peter decide to have a night on the town, you might find him swinging for the chandelier after only one drink. Booze affects his abilities considerably, as we found out when he tried to battle the Hobgoblin after he drank one glass of spiked punch that slowed his agility. Lesson learned, but practically his greatest challenge is satiating his bottomless appetite. Luckily, friends like the Avengers and the Fantastic Four take pity on him and fed him regularly. Nothing beats an all-you-can-eat superhero buffet.
Take your coat off. Drape it over his face.
What?
The man wears a mask for a reason. We must respect his wishes.
The Mask of the Spider. Obviously, hiding his secret identity is Peter Parker's foremost priority. Imagine how disastrous things would be for him if this info got out. However, Spidey's quintessential faceplate does more than guard his identity. First of all, the lenses of his mask protect his eyes, but these two-way mirrors allow him to see through all sorts of conditions that range from dust and dirt to also filtering out sun glare, something that Parker has to deal with on the regular when swinging around the city's rooftops. But we have a question. Although these are supposed to be two-way mirrors, we still can't figure out why they bend like the fabric of his mask. That was regarding his lightweight circus costume, but when he upgraded to the armor suit, this applied to his peepers as well to meet some newer challenges. The new eye gear allowed him to see past Mysterio's diabolical illusions and also gave him the ability to ward off the hypnotic stare of the iguana, in addition to scanning the weaknesses of his enemies. And like Batman, Spidey's mask muffles his voice, but not to the gruff and sexy extent of the Caped Crusaders.
Just what the world needs. Another nut in a costume.
Utility belt. Fighting crime packs in with it not only bruises and broken bones, but moreover, should a hero be swinging atop a city skyline in colorful Spanx, where do you store your stuff? A fanny pack? A good idea if your hero's name is Indy 500 Man. Backpack? Sure, but only during the school year. Utility belt? Hang on, that's Batman's shtick. That hasn't stopped Spidey though, even though it dates back to the Amazing Spider-Man number 2 in 1963. Over the years, his belt has served him well for stashing extra web cartridges, a spider signal, a facsimile of the bat signal, spider tracers, and his trusty camera. His camera is his moneymaker and helps to maintain the cover for his mild-mannered alter ego, because without it, every one of Spidey's enemies would be knocking down Aunt May's door. I mean, my god, a superhero's gotta eat and pay his rent too. We can all agree how critical secrecy is in aiding a hero's effectiveness.
Who are you?
You know who I am.
I do?
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Peter devised a more advanced camera, eventually graduating to a digital model, but the biggest advantage being a hands-free option, which comes in handy fisticuffing with nefarious foes.
No matter what I do, no matter how hard I try, the ones I love will always be the ones who pay.
Death. Newsflash, something, somehow is gonna take you down someday, no matter who you are. If you happen to be a comic book hero, then your mortality rate jumps up considerably, but if you're diagnosed with a fatal disease, there's always hope for you in a crossover. Exactly what happened to Peter Parker in 2005 to 2006's crossover, The Other. At this time, Parker is going through a lot of changes, the most blessed being his marriage to Mary Jane.
We are gathered here today to unite these two in the bonds of holy matrimony.
The worst was being diagnosed with radioactive arachnid cancer, and none of his friends can figure out a cure. Oh, these are dire times for the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, but it's worsened by Morloon looking for a fight with the webhead. If the spider cancer doesn't take him down, Morloon sure will. Flashing ahead a couple of editions, Morloon ends Parker's life, but fortunately, Tony Stark has his back and resurrects him, hence the spider armor he fabricated for him in entry number 6. However, Peter's metaphysical rebirth interestingly works out Kubler-Ross's 5 stages of grief, but in the process he realized new powers he had seen in a dream.
Calling up Iron Man armor detail. Hold on! Security failsafe.
Stark's kill switch. This entry sits firmly in the good idea category, unlike the Spider-Mobile, even though the buggy eventually learned that it could drive up walls. But a super advanced suit of iron? Yeah, baby. Now we're cooking with gasoline, as long as the Web Slinger doesn't get burnt in the process. Peter's good friend and colleague in arms, Tony Stark, crafted him a sweet suit that performed all sorts of awesome.
Hey kid, I like your style, wardrobe notwithstanding. How about you visit the plant on Saturday? Maybe I can help you out.
It was bulletproof, of course, but Stark also gave it mechanical arms, visual and sound amplification, and a radar. But the crowning glory is being constructed of shape-shifting, smart liquid metal. Sound familiar? It was during the Civil War days that Stark figured that Peter could use a little extra padding after he was resurrected in a fatal fight with Morloon. By accepting the suit, he also accepted a dicey but unknown agreement. Tony Stark built in a fail-safe kill switch in case Parker defected to Captain America's side, which he did by joining the anti-registration team headed by Captain America.
So I see you took some liberties with the suit I built for you.
Spider-Man re-gifted the suit back to Iron Man after the Civil War epoch. It looks like he's back in his pajamas, but that guarantees him the freedom to carry out his own affairs.
Hello. I told you I am running a bit late.
Crosstown Traffic. We admit that this is not necessarily a superpower, but the outcome of it might be reason enough to keep his mouth shut. The Spider-Mobile was inspired by the beefy Batmobile, but Parker's not independently wealthy like Bruce Wayne, so Peter had to rely on other forms of funding. Corona Motors wanted the Web Slinger to promote their new engine in the Spider-Mobile. Peter employed Johnny Storm to design his car, dune buggy. A perfect choice for cruising the sandy beaches of Manhattan. So you can understand why Spider-Man was apprehensive, because this buggy looks like it's straight out of Malibu Barbie's playset. Although it did shoot webs, so that's marginally cool, but the suggestion that Spidey get around town on streets is just impractical. Considering that Parker never learned how to drive in the first place, it's not a shocker that Peter accidentally ditched the Spider-Mobile in the Hudson River because he was tricked by Mysterio, which landed him in hot water. The ad execs that hired him to promote the Corona engine threatened to sue Spider-Man if he didn't return the Spidey-Mobile. Spidey's foible was selling out for a totally unnecessary vehicle.
Hey, look at that spider.
Some spiders change colors to blend into their environment. It's a defense mechanism.
Peter, what makes you think I would want to know that?
Who wouldn't?
The Spider Whisperer. So let's get this straight. Not all small things graduate to greatness, even though Ant-Man's army of ants proved to be an asset. But did you know that Spidey can communicate with spiders telepathically? Neato! The usefulness of the power basically stops there. Unless you're an arachnologist, because Parker can distinguish when spiders are around and what genus they belong to.
A spider sense.
Again, neato! But how useful is this? For cataloging purposes, I guess, but Peter couldn't hurt his own kind. It was, however, Spidey's Spidiness that put him in peril when he and Captain America investigated the Queen, aka Anna Saria's hive, in a high-rise building. Her twisted plan transformed Parker into a hideous mammoth spider and almost became the egg incubator for her thousands of eggs. Spider-Man finally snapped out of it and defused her devastating bomb in the nick of time. Being manipulated is embarrassing, so we bet that Parker's little parlor trick is the gateway to him being really owned by those thousands of spider eggs. Peter's a multitasker, but we don't think he could handle that. The chicken or the radioactive egg? The origins of Spider-Man's powers were always thought to be cut and dry. A radioactive spider took a chunk out of his tender mortal hide and left him with amazing spider abilities. As comic hero fans, we all know not to take anything for granted, even if there are bite marks to prove it. In The Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2, issue number 30, this fact was checked by Ezekiel one night when Spidey was stretching his spindly legs and clobbering criminals. The bizarre truth that Ezekiel bequeathed was proposed as a canonesque chestnut, one that you may not have heard about. The radioactive spider bit Peter in intentionally to pass on its mutated powers before it croaked. So does that mean that Parker's fate was engineered? Ezekiel spied on Spidey to learn as much as he could since he has spider-like abilities too. Ezekiel confides that the bite incident was orchestrated to make Parker a godlike totem, and the original bite had the spider convey its powers before the radiation killed it. Does this imply that there's a higher purpose for Spidey? Or is it a dog whistle for other lesser animal-inspired villains? Either way, this was news to Parker, and he works in the news biz.
My back! Oh, my back!
Burning the web at both ends. By the time Spider-Man 2 slung its way into theaters in 2004, we found Peter Parker worn a little too thin. You'd think that a guy who could walk a tightrope 100 stories high could juggle his responsibilities. Living alone, he attends college, tried to peddle pics of the Web Slinger to Flat-Top Jameson, date Mary Jane, and, do that Spider-Man thing. It all seems to be too much for this young pup to handle. What really put his knickers in a twist was seeing Mary Jane with a new beau. That'll more than mess with your head, but it killed his super abilities.
Oh no, come on!
Then she agrees to marry the dude? Forget about it. This emasculates him of his powers, so after some soul searching, he decides to abandon the Web Slinger once and for all. Besides, it sure beats falling from the sky all the time, so it's fair enough for him to hide any trace of this to friends and foes, but it's serious when you have to hide it from yourself. That didn't last long, and for Pete's sake, his compulsion to fight crime and staring into MJ's eyes over cappuccino triggers his abilities again. And guess what, folks? He's back.
Your friendly neighborhood Ultimate Spider-Man reporting for duty, sir!
Too close to home. The Web Slinger never asked to become a crime-fighting Spider-Man, and his life was turned upside down after that infamous radioactive bite. Irrefutably, Spidey Sense is his greatest power, because if a horde of enemies are out to get you, you'd better hope to have a little something up your sleeve. A necessary aptitude for doing Matrix-inspired gymnastics to dodge bullets and all other forms of nasty projectiles definitely helps. A little-known sticking point to this power is that it can't detect those whom he knows and trusts. The last person that Peter suspects could easily get the jump on him is his Aunt May. Way back in 1972, in the Amazing Spider-Man Volume 1, issue number 114, he sneaks back into his aunt's house, and mistaking Peter as an intruder, she baffs him over the head with a vase.
Where did you get your powers? Timmy says you're from a dying planet, and your parents sent you here in a little spaceship.
I think Timmy has me confused with someone else.
Spider-Man always has an ace up his sleeve, but sometimes that's not enough to survive the big city with all the crime and evil villains afoot. The challenges can be too much for a young fellow like Peter. Did we do justice with our list? Sound off in the comments section below. And don't forget to subscribe to CBR to see all of our awesome videos on our playlist. Thanks for watching!